Hi guys, thank you for joining us today. This is just a brief overview video of what you could expect in post-secondary in the fields of nursing and kinesiology.
So a little bit about myself. My name is Chelsea. I'm a third-year Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology student here at the University of Calgary. My stream is Exercise and Health Physiology, which I'll explain to you later today. But the reason why I chose kinesiology was because I love playing sports and I love physical activity, and I grew up playing soccer, so it definitely helped me develop this passion for injury prevention and injury prevention research. With being in kinesiology for about 3 years now, I've actually developed an interest in a field of occupational therapy. But I'm also here to tell you that kinesiology is a very versatile faculty, and there are multiple career paths that you can take with the degree. And I hope to share that with you today. So, kinesiology is a study of human movement and function. So, it talks a lot about physiological changes over time for certain populations, whether it be, clinical rehab populations or even professional athletes or performance athletes. And I think one of the reasons why I love the program so much is because you work with all kinds of different things, different populations. You learn about not only just surface level sports science stuff. And especially when you're in your first year, you'll be able to experience a lot more of what I'm talking about. For example, you get to indulge yourself in a nutrition class or a sports psychology or sports sociology. And all of those things really just help you tailor what you like best about kines and hopefully help you choose a more specific career goal in the future. In terms of the majors in Kines, especially at U of C, there's a Bachelor of Science, and then there's just BKin. So for Bachelor of Science, you can just go with the general Kines, but you could also take biomechanics, which is linking physics with Kines, and then mind sciences would be Kines with psychology, so sports psychology, and then there's also XPhys down here, which is more of integrated physiology. So you learn more about, the circulatory system, pulmonary system on a very microscopic level, and if you're into that, that's awesome. That's what I'm into. So respect. Beacon is the the Bachelor of Kines. And again, you have the general, and you could also take a stream of leadership and pedagogy and coaching. So maybe if you're a prospective fitness coach or want to work in recreation, that would be a way to go. And then there's also a combined degree where you can take a dual degree with kines with education, Bachelor of Arts, or even business. So here are just some program highlights. On the left, I just listed off some possible careers that you can get after a kinesiology degree. So like I said before, you could be a fitness coach or work in recreation, maybe with the city of Calgary or at the YMCA maybe. You could also work in research with the school and the faculty. Um, you could also, a really big one nowadays is grad school. So a lot of people like to take an undergrad in kines and then carry on their education towards a master's degree and maybe occupational therapy or physiotherapy, stuff like that. Another common thing that I've seen after a kinesiology degree is med school. People like to use their undergrad of kines and just learn about anatomy before they even get into med school. And they not only get to apply with a pretty high GPA from the program, but also with that underlying information. So that kind of puts you in front of some people who might just be learning about anatomy right when they get into med school. These guys in kines already know the baseline stuff, so it's a great way to learn and put yourself ahead. So yeah, and then so some other highlights would be of the program would be that you do a lot of lab work. So a lot of most lectures would have labs, and for example, in one of my classes, I literally just got to play sports for my lab, which was awesome. Um, but other than that, you get to also do a lot of hands-on experience through practicums and a lot of opportunities to study abroad as well. Australia has been really popular with that. Nope. So what to expect? This is just my schedule from my second year last year. It looks pretty uh, all over the place, but the good thing is you do have breaks in between, and post secondary also is pretty flexible with your own personal schedule. So if you work part time, then you can kind of tailor it and kind of be able to compromise with yourself with your work schedule and also your school schedule. So that's awesome. So what to expect, it is long hours. You do have to attend lectures and labs for majority of Kines classes. Um, but the good thing about that is that there's a lot of overlap between classes. So what you learn in one class, it definitely is able to be translated to another. So you'll hear repeated information throughout. And the good thing about that is sometimes you'll learn something in your first year, and then it'll come out again in your third year, and you'll already know it, so you're set. So here's a really short video of a class that I took in my first year called Anatomy and Physiology. Dr. Ferber explains it better than I do, so I'll just let you watch it.
My name is Reid Ferber. I'm a professor in the Faculty of Kinesiology at the University of Calgary. I'm the coordinator and lecturer for the Human Anatomy and Physiology course taught to all first-year Kines and nursing students. In this lab, students have an amazing opportunity to do hands-on work with human cadavers. Students learn about all aspects of the human body. We start with the muscular and the skeletal systems. We move through urinary, pulmonary, cardiovascular systems, and they gain an appreciation for the human body using a hands-on laboratory approach. We also teach a upper-level dissection class where fourth-year students get to prepare the cadaveric specimens for the first-year students, helping them with their hands-on approach to understanding the human body. This is an amazing experience for students because it's one of the few places in Canada where they do get to work with human cadavers. So they get a very experiential learning opportunity that is very unique here at the University of Calgary.
So the University of Calgary is one of the few places that actually offer cadaver labs, but definitely wherever you choose to go, a Kines program in any school will definitely have some sort of hands-on experience. So it's definitely still a very meaningful experience for your career and your academics. So in terms of U of C kinesiology admission requirements, obviously anywhere else, you just have to look on their website and they'll definitely tell you what you need in terms of high school grades and classes. But at U of C, you just need your English 30-1, Math 30-1, Chem 30, Bio 30, and an approved course or option. Which for me, I used, for example, Phys Ed, I think. Anything that helps you really keep that average high is definitely beneficial, because the admission average is mid 80s and it does tend to get a little bit higher because of the number of applications that U of C gets every year. So some tips for you guys would just be to practice managing your time with your schoolwork. And if you are able to do that in high school, it'll be really beneficial for you in post-secondary. And definitely adapt good study habits too, which is great because Kines is a lot about group studies. You share a lot of classes with your friends and you get to take those. So that's awesome. And the third one would just be to take advantage of the resources that are given to you in high school. So talk to your guidance counselor. They know a lot about admission requirements. So they'd be a really great resource to use while you're in high school. I forgot to add, but I just wanted to wish you guys all the best of luck, and I hope you found this information useful.
Hi there, everyone. My name's Dariush. I'm a third-year Bachelor of Science nursing major at Mount Royal University. A little bit about myself. I've been growing up playing the guitar, started when I was young, and now I'm in a band right now. And the photo there on screen is with my bandmate. So with nursing, what drew me into it? From an early age, I've always really liked helping others out. And I've always enjoyed working with others and really that team environment. So I think that's one of the reasons with what drew me to the nursing program and the nursing field. I have a few other points later in the presentation that I'll touch on why I also really enjoy the nursing program. But one of them is, I'll say it right now, the diversity in it. So I really want to be working on the cardiac ward, and you have that flexibility as a nurse, but we'll get into that a little later on. So with nursing, we have three main questions that we ask ourselves when we're going into any program. And for me, it was, well, what do nurses do? Why should I go into nursing? And what should I expect going into nursing? So I'll try and address these 3 points to the best of my ability. So for the first one, what do nurses do? I broke it down into 3 sections. We have your public health, your acute health, and your travel and street nursing. So with public health, it involves really school nursing, immunizations, working with AHS or Alberta Health Services, and the STI clinics or clinics in general. With acute care, it's still public health because luckily for us, healthcare in Canada is free and public. So with acute care, you're dealing mainly with hospitals. So you have your surgical wards, your labor and delivery, your general surgery, your ER. And the last one, my favorite, is travel and street nursing. That's when nurses are quite literally on the streets with other population members. So you're dealing with the homeless populations, or you're helping people who just have ended up on the streets. You provide them with safe needles, safe sex supplies, and really just try and help make their situation just a little bit better. So why should I go into nursing? You know, what is it, what's in it for me, right? The biggest one, especially right now, is job security. Pre-COVID, you know, nurses have always been really hardworking and really, you know, trying to save as many lives as they can. But especially now, they're in very high demand. You know, one of the examples I could give you are travel nurses, which are people who sign up online, and a hospital from a different country or somewhere else in a different state or a different province will contact you and say, hey, we'll fly you out, all expenses paid, and you do what you do best, right? So it's definitely a lot of opportunity as well, which leads me into my next point. If you're tired of working on one unit, you can always transfer into a different unit. Let's say you started working in a general surgery unit, and then you want to move into a psych ward, right? You want to give that a try. Go for it, right? There's a lot of flexibility in what you want. And that leads me to the third and fourth point, which is it's a really fulfilling career. You know, you get to do what you do best, which is help people, right? That's why I got into it in the first place. And if you're a very team person and you really enjoy helping others, then nursing should be, you know, right up your alley. And the fourth one is, you know, every day is different. I, for one, get really bored if I have the same thing happening every day. And with nursing, it's definitely not that. You know, one day you'll go in and something crazy is happening, and then the next day something crazy is also happening, but it's also different. And that's the really exciting thing about nursing is you never know what to expect. And some people really like that, like me, and some people don't. But that's one of the things that comes with the territory of being a nurse. And the last one, what should I expect? Well, I can only speak from my experience as a student at Mount Royal, but the first one is it's pretty workload heavy. So with that, you have at least a mixture of labs and lectures, like how Chelsea was explaining her timetable. And it's really nice because you get to do the theory side of things in the lectures, and then you get to put it to practice in the labs. So in first year, you'll have a lot of nursing specific labs, which means you go in, there are mannequins set up, and you can take the pulses of the mannequins, you can do the vital signs on them, and you get hands-on right away first year. And then you get, in the second semester of first year, quite literal hands-on in the hospital. And that's one of the things I love about Mount Royal is that they do these in-hospital clinics as early as first year, second semester. So you're in the hospital, you're right there with the patient, you're right there with the RNs and the LPNs. And it's a lot to take in, believe me, but it's so rewarding to know right away in your first year that this is the degree you want, like this is the major you want to pursue. And with that, it's really rewarding just helping people, you know, out of the gate, right? And on top of that, we have some sim labs that Mount Royal is also known for, these simulation labs. I have a short video that I'll be showing later in the slides, so you can kind of get to know the sim labs a little bit better. And here's just a timetable of mine from last year. And as you can see, mine is really spaced out, and that's really on me. It was my choice to give myself some breaks here and there for my classes. And that's one of the nice things that you'll find in any major that you go into in post-secondary compared to high school is rather than you coming in at 8 a.m. and then leaving at 3 p.m. Monday, Thursday, and then like you have your late entry or early ending Friday. With university classes, you have the flexibility to choose which classes you want which day for how long. Maybe you work, right? you want those 8 a.m. classes to get your classes out of the way, and then you want to go to work. Or maybe you don't want to get up in the morning and you say, you know what, I'll move all my classes to the evening. That works too. So it's really flexible to your schedule and what you want. I personally like to take breaks in between my classes if I have more than one. It just gives me time to study at the library on campus, catch up on some of my other classes, or work ahead on some of my other classes, get a good lunch in, and really, yeah, space my time out effectively. Now, for Monday, you'll notice that it says 6:30 a.m. to 10:20 p.m. These were my clinical days. Now, luckily, it's not 6:30 a.m. to 10:20 p.m., but they use that time as a buffer, because one week you'll be at the hospital 6:30 a.m. to 2 p.m., and then the next week you'll be there 2 p.m. to 10:20 p.m. So 8-hour shifts, and the idea is they want you to get used to what a normal day will look like when you're out of school, when you have your degree and you're working as an RN. So it's really nice that they really involve you from the first week, from the first year of school, and you are right in the hospital, right? So it's really nice. That's one of the main reasons why I chose Mount Royal. So here are the sim labs. Now, I'll let the video play because it summarizes it pretty well, but just one point to make with this is it's really no real risk, because these are all mannequins, but the opportunity for learning is immense. You really test yourself, and you really put yourself in situations that you wouldn't necessarily put yourself in a hospital setting, because the risk would be so great because you're dealing with someone's life. But in a sim lab, it's great because you get to try things out that you normally wouldn't and see, do they work, do they not? If they don't, then what can we do to fix them, right? So I'll just play this video and then talk to you after.
This is an example of one of our clinical environments that we have. We have 4 simulation suites in this area, and they can be set up in a number of different ways. So this is a clinical space. As you can see, it looks very much like a hospital setting, and everything in here is functional. And as well, we have one of our mannequins here. Hello, Susie.
Hello.
How are you? How are you this morning?
I'm feeling fine. A little short of oxygen, though.
You're a bit short of oxygen. Do you think I need to turn up the levels a little bit?
It just seems it's difficult to breathe.
You're having a hard time breathing. Okay, maybe I'll sit you up a little bit.
Okay.
Is that a bit better?
That feels a lot better. Thank you.
You're welcome. These mannequins, we can check their pulses. They have lung sounds and heart sounds. We can do pretty much anything with them that we would a normal human being. So that's what's really great about this center, is that the students come in here and get to experience something that's very, very realistic.
Perfect, yeah. So video sums it up pretty well. The one thing I'd like to note and mention is when you're actually in these sim labs, there's a one-way mirror. So you can see yourself, but there's someone sitting behind that mirror who's controlling the voice in the mannequin. And they run through these prompts. So every time you go there, they might be testing a different scenario. So it's really flexible with what prompt they have. One day you might go in there and they might be complaining of back pain or a leg infection or something. And it really lets you see what there is out there, to test yourself on, and how well do you retain the knowledge that you learn in those lectures and in those labs. How can you put those to work in a sim lab? And then how can you take that and put it to work in a hospital setting? So I really like how cohesive everything is and how everything flows with it. And yeah, those are the sim labs. So here's what a case study would look like in your first year. With nursing, it's important to remember, as nurses, we tend to look for the nitty-gritty. What is it about that patient that makes that patient what it is? When you read something like the prompt that you have here, we really need to pick out things that may or may not be important, and then see if it is important, why is it important? So things that I would note right away: 30-year-old male, severe cold sweats, it looks like he has complaining of loss of sleep, irritability, palpitations, and difficulty concentrating. Those are the main kind of points that I would take out of this prompt. And then, we take his vital signs, and all the vitals come back here. Now, what are the normal temperatures? What are the normal resps? Is the O2 saturation on room air, or is he using a nasal cannula, or is it supplied oxygen? What is his pulse? Is the pulse normal, right? So all of these are listed here for your convenience, so you know what a normal temperature is versus what isn't. But in a hospital setting, you won't have these. So these are kind of your bread and butter. You need these in the hospital every day whenever you're taking someone's vitals. If you take their temp and it's suddenly 40, okay, well, that's a red flag. I'll make a note of that. I'll take it up with my supervisor, with my RN. I'll say, hey, you know what, patient in 2-bed 1 has a temp of 40, and then they'll tell you right away, and what do you want to do about it? Because that's the whole point of being a nurse is, this, now what? No one wants to hold your hand in the hospital, and that's, it can be good and it can be bad, but the benefit of it is you get this independence of, okay, I know that this is what I have to do now. This is where it's at. Now, what do I do about it, right? So, okay, temp is at 40. Well, let's check their prescriptions and see if we can give them, any medication to potentially lower that temperature. Or the temperature is a little high. Maybe they're having an infection somewhere on their body that we don't know about. So there are really these different routes that you can take with any situation, and you really have to explore all of them to make sure you haven't missed anything. And it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle, if you will. So that's one of the things I really love about the field. So here's some nursing requirements for MRU. As I mentioned earlier, pretty competitive to get into Mount Royal. As you can see, it's 93 to 98% is the competitive average range. Now, with that, what's important to know is it's only for the top 2 Group A courses. And in the second photo, you'll see Group A courses are really your standard classes in high school. So looking through it, from my experience, I chose, I believe it was Bio 30 and Math 30-2. Now, you'll see there it says, or Mathematics 30-2 if accepted by the program. For nursing, actually, in specific, they recommended 30-2 over 30-1. And I'll get into that story in a few slides about, why would they want 30-2 over 30-1. But some tips to really remember is make your first semester of grade 12 really, really count. Because if you do the early admission route of grade 11 and apply to Mount Royal, you really have to keep that competitive average range up there, even when you enter into grade 12. And some people like that. They would rather have their seat saved for next year, but I wasn't in that kind of spot. So I had to really make my grade 12 year really count. And the other thing with that is you have to be on top of your emails. Now, what I mean by that is in this next slide. And as you can see here, these were emails that I had back and forth with a faculty member at Mount Royal. So I created a MR4U account before I even got into the university. This was my application process. You have to create this account on the university website, the My MR4U, and with that you apply to the nursing program. And they'll ask you to estimate what your grades will be by the end of the semester. So if you're sitting at a 92 and you need to hit that 93 threshold, you can estimate, oh, well, I think it'll hit a 94. And then someone from the university, if you meet that estimated threshold, will contact you and say, hey, thanks for the application. We just want to make sure, it says you estimated this and this grade, but looking at your previous transcripts, maybe you didn't meet those averages, right? And so that was kind of the case with me. Someone messaged me and said, hey, we're kind of worried, we don't think you'll be hitting these benchmarks, right? And I had to provide them evidence that I would in fact meet these requirements. As you see in this next slide, I quite literally took screenshots of the home logic and the Robert Thirsk course home grades for my grades, and I would send these to them and let them know, hey, this was my final grade for Math 30-2, or this was my final grade for Bio 30. And with me, I would keep replying to those emails as soon as they came in. So if I got an email that came in from MRU about my grades, within the next 5-10 minutes, I'd respond to them as soon as possible. Because the important thing to remember is a lot of students are being spoken to by email by these MRU staff. They're getting reached out to. They're saying, hey, you put so-and-so as your grades on our application. We want to see those grades. You want to be as quick as you can sending these grades back to them and giving them what they want, because they want to process that application as soon as they can, right? In my case, I was a little unique because they were worried about my estimated grades, so I had to keep updating them, step by step throughout the semester. They wanted me to check in with them second semester and let them know. Hopefully, with a lot of you guys, that won't be a problem, and you guys will actually, hit it right on the mark and give it to them as soon as you can. I was lucky enough that they were patient with me and they walked me through it and gave me my tentative submission to Mount Royal. Now, once you get approved for it, you'll notice that the final cumulative grade only needs to be a 70. Now, that's like a buffer zone. I wouldn't say, that's the time that you get lazy and you do that. No, still keep that same energy and that same strength that you've had throughout the semester. But just know that you have a buffer now. You don't have to maintain that 93 to 98. You just have to keep all of your courses as a cumulative average above that 70, right? And if you keep it above that 70, by the time finals are finished and everything's done and you get your diploma, then you get enrolled into MRU. They send you out their acceptance, you get it, you fill out the paperwork, and then you're a student at MRU. So it's definitely a process. I know a lot of universities won't do that, and that's mainly because the campuses are so large and they get so many applicants all the time that they just can't send emails, one-to-one to students. But MRU really has that like homey, almost high school feel. A lot of the classes at MRU are 30 to 35 students. So I don't feel like I never have any big lecture hall classes in nursing. Most of my classes are really small. You make friends because everyone's in the same major. You all have the same classes, and you get to meet like a really tight-knit family that you can follow through 4 years of your degree with, going into different hospitals with each other. So it's a really, really rewarding, honestly, degree. And I'm really happy that I found it really enjoyable. And, I hope that if you guys are ever applying, that you give it a shot too. So with that said, I really appreciate everyone joining us for the presentation, and I wish you all the best. Well, that concludes the end of our presentation. We really hope you enjoyed it and you found the information useful. Thank you again for taking the time to watch it, and best of luck in your studies. And we hope we see you in nursing and kinesiology.